He's being called the graphic novel killer.
But could his own creations have led to the most gruesome act?
I've seen some gruesome crimes, and this is one of the most gruesome.
Blake Livell, a failed Hollywood dreamer, turned his dark fantasies into a chilling crime.
37-year-old Blake Livell's graphic novel.
Dive into the disturbing story of a man who mirrored his fictional horrors with terrifying consequences.
Features a beautiful young woman who falls victim to a serial killer.
You won't want to miss this shocking story. May 8, 1981, Blake Livell was born in Toronto, Ontario, to a wealthy family. His father, Lauren Livell, a famous real estate tycoon and Canadian Motorsport Hall of Famer, made a name for himself, while his mother, Eleanor Chadel, inherited the family business, Allrose Products, making millions every year. Despite their success, Blake's family had its share of dark secrets. His grandfather, Paul Chadel, was a notorious control freak, and his grandmother struggled with severe mental illness. Growing up in this privileged environment, Blake seemed destined for success, but the seeds of a dark future were already planted. Cody Livell, his brother, was the more successful sibling, building a fortune in California, selling homes worth millions. Meanwhile, Blake's life was spiraling out of control. By 2011, Blake's mother passed away from brain cancer, leaving behind a huge inheritance. However, Blake's bitterness grew, and he sought to remove his father as the trustee of his mother's will. He failed, and his finances continued to decline. Despite receiving an allowance of almost $2 million over 8 years, Blake's struggles only deepened. He attempted to make a name for himself in Hollywood, directing a low-budget film, Bald, 2009, and another, Soulmates, 2013. But his works failed to make an impact. He also published a graphic novel, Syndrome, about a man obsessed with serial killers, drawing unsettling parallels to his own mind. As his career faltered, Blake's mental state worsened. He became obsessed with violence, and his relationships fell apart. In 2015, Blake's behavior grew erratic, leading to the collapse of his marriage with Amanda Braun, who was pregnant with their second child. He began isolating himself, consumed by fantasies of gore and brutality. Blake's descent into madness was undeniable by 2016. He began a relationship with Yana Kashin, a stunning 30-year-old former Ukrainian attorney. However, Blake's jealousy over their newborn daughter pushed him further into a violent rage. May 2016 marked the darkest chapter in his life, as he tortured and killed Yana in his West Hollywood apartment. Blake was arrested, and investigators discovered a chilling connection to his own graphic novel, Syndrome. His actions mirrored the gruesome scenes he had written. He was sentenced to life without parole in 2018 for the brutal murder of Yana Kashin. Blake's story is a chilling reminder that sometimes the darkest truths are hidden behind a facade of wealth and privilege. His fall from grace was inevitable, and his descent into madness left a trail of destruction that no one could have foreseen. In May 2016, Blake Livell crossed a horrifying line, committing a murder that would shock the world. Blake, once from a well-off family in Toronto, Ontario, had fallen into darkness. His family was wealthy, with his father, Lauren Livell, being a famous real estate tycoon, and his mother, Eleanor Chadel, inheriting the lucrative business of Allrose Products. Blake had everything, yet something inside him was unraveling. For years, Blake had been consumed by failed ambitions. His attempts to break into Hollywood were fruitless. His low-budget films, Bald, 2009, and Soulmates, 2013, were complete flops. His graphic novel Syndrome, 2010, was equally unremarkable, despite its chilling storyline about a doctor studying serial killers. It was clear that Blake's dark fantasies had begun to bleed into his reality. By 2015, his life was spiraling out of control. Blake had a wife, Amanda Braun, and a daughter, but his obsession with violence had taken a sinister turn. He became distant, paranoid, and increasingly erratic. In the summer of 2015, Blake left Amanda while she was pregnant with their second child. His addiction to marijuana worsened, but deeper issues were festering in his mind. By May 2016, Blake had entered a new relationship with Yana Kashin, a 30-year-old former attorney from Ukraine. Their relationship started smoothly, and in May, Yana gave birth to a baby girl. But Blake's jealousy took hold. He felt threatened by the attention Yana was giving to their daughter, and his rage began to boil over. Blake's mental state deteriorated as he struggled with a deep sense of control over Yana. On May 20th, Blake was arrested for sexual assault against Constance Bukafuri, one of his ex-girlfriends. She claimed Blake had forced himself on her at one of his houses, and it was clear that Blake was unraveling further. He was bailed out the next day by Yana, but things quickly took a darker turn. On May 24th, 2016, Yana went to meet Blake after she received strange messages from him. Her mother, Olga Kashin, had a phone conversation with her before she left. But after Yana didn't respond to calls the next day, Olga grew worried. On May 25th, Olga went to Blake's apartment, but when she called out to him, Blake silently slid the door shut. The police were called, but they couldn't enter without just cause. However, by May 26th, after no responses, police were able to break in. When the officers entered the apartment, they found Blake barricaded in the bedroom. After speaking with him on the phone, he eventually emerged in his boxer shorts, but the horror that awaited them in the bedroom was unimaginable. Yana's body was lying on the bed, covered with a red blanket, her face brutally mutilated. Her scalp had been removed, and parts of her face were missing. Blake had slowly tortured her, draining her blood, and eventually killing her in a gruesome act of violence. The investigation revealed a disturbing connection to Blake's graphic novel Syndrome, where a similar scene of torture and death was described. Blake's actions mirrored the exact scenes he had created in his work, making it clear that his descent into madness had come full circle. The investigation revealed bloodstains throughout the apartment, and forensic evidence confirmed that Yana had been alive while Blake slowly tortured her, draining her blood. Blake was arrested and later convicted for the murder of Yana Kashin. His trial was a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lie beneath the surface of a seemingly successful life. In 2018, Blake Leibel was sentenced to life in prison without parole, a fitting punishment for a man whose horrific crime had taken the life of a young mother and left a family forever shattered. Blake's story serves as a reminder that sometimes fiction and reality can blur in the most terrifying of ways. The horror of his actions will forever be tied to the pages of his disturbing creations. In 2018, Blake Leibel was convicted of the brutal murder of Yana Kashin. After months of tension and horror, Blake's trial brought shocking revelations to light. His chilling crime was a horrific act of violence, eerily similar to scenes from his graphic novel Syndrome, where a character tortures a victim. The parallels between Blake's creation and his actions were undeniable. Blake, born in 1981, had once come from a wealthy family, but his descent into madness had been apparent for years. His failed Hollywood career, unstable relationships, and growing obsession with violence had all led to this moment. By 2016, his mental state had severely deteriorated. His relationship with Yana spiraled, and jealousy over their newborn daughter pushed Blake to commit the unthinkable. On May 26, 2016, after a disturbing series of events, the police discovered Yana's body, brutally mutilated and drained of blood, in Blake's West Hollywood apartment. The evidence was overwhelming, and Blake was arrested and charged with murder. During his trial, it was revealed that Blake's demeanor was cold and emotionless, even in the face of his horrific crime. His actions were compared to his own fictional work, strengthening the case against him. The court sentenced Blake to life in prison without the possibility of parole, ensuring that he would never see the outside world again. What if a stolen identity triggered one of the most bizarre crime investigations ever? You won't believe the twists and the case that followed. Make sure you don't miss our next video. a stolen identity that led to the most bizarre crime investigation. Trust me, you won't want to be left out on this mind-blowing story. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you're always the first to know when we release the next shocking mystery. Stay tuned.